Hey, what is up guys, Tav here, and every filmmaker at some point has experienced overexposed clouds or snow or highlights of some kind. It's just bound to happen. So what can you possibly do to fix this? A sky replacement isn't perfect and takes too long, reshooting often isn't possible, and fixing in post isn't usually an option, right? Wrong. Well, in certain circumstances, we'll get into that. So that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you how to do today. Bring these slightly overexposed highlights down to a more acceptable level and making your shots just look more professional and cinematic. The only thing you need to do is make sure that in camera you're shooting log or flat, which basically means you have really low contrast and saturation in your images. Most cameras now, like Canon and Lumix, have this option built in. For example, on my Lumix camera, it's called CinelikeD, and as you can see, it looks really flat and low contrast. But basically that's all you need to do, just shoot in that setting and the rest will be done completely inside of post. Now I can't actually confirm whether shooting in CinelikeD or a flat picture profile actually gives you more image data or dynamic range because I haven't done formal tests of this subject, but from my experience using it, it seems like I can get more data from the highlights as well as the shadows, so it would seem to support that theory. So if we jump into post here, you can see that I have several clips here lined up from a recent video I made. So I just found these clips the other day and I noticed that in fact a lot of the clouds and highlights up here are completely overexposed. Does not look great whatsoever, but in my video I was able to kind of bring it down and fix it a bit using this technique that I'm just about to show you right now. So it's honestly the easiest thing you've ever done. It doesn't completely save all your highlights. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. You're not going to get all these blown out highlights back, but I will say you'll get about a stop of dynamic range back that you wouldn't have had originally and wouldn't have shown up if you did nothing to your footage, so that's super cool. So if we look at this first clip, you can see that obviously the highlights are blown out, so that's what we're going to be adjusting. So I'm using Final Cut Pro here, but you can use whatever software you want. You're just going to go into your color inspector or whatever it is on your program, and in the exposure section you're just going to bring the highlights exposure down about -20. And as you can see, if you look at the highlights while I do that, I bring it down, you can see that data coming back and showing up in the footage. And I found that about at -20 to 23 is the maximum lowered highlights exposure that still shows more detail. So I like to put it at about -20, and you can see if I turn it on and off, how much data is hidden inside the shot that you wouldn't have known about if you didn't bring it down. So again, I said this technique is very easy and it clearly is. If I try it on this other shot right here, go to the exposure and bring down the highlights exposure to -20, you can see how when I turn it off and on, you get a little bit more data in the clouds right by this mountain here. It doesn't bring all of this back, obviously, but even up here you get a bit more texture that you wouldn't have had before. It was just completely white, and then you turn it on and you see a little bit more texture, which is just super cool. It brings it back and can make it look a lot better in a lot of circumstances, because in most circumstances you're just accidentally overexposed by about a stop. So this fixes a lot of issues. Let's try it again here. With this shot, go to exposure, highlights, bring it down to -20, off, on. Look at that. All this detail right here in these clouds didn't exist. It's completely overexposed, and you turn it on with the CinelikeD picture profile. When you shoot it, turn it on, all your footage is back. It does darken the image a little bit, but you can adjust that by changing the shadows and midtones. One more example right here, just to show you how easy it is. Bring it down to -20. This one isn't quite as bad, but if I zoom in and show you the snow section right here, you can see that this is completely overexposed, and if I turn it back on the effect, you get all that detail back in this glacier or snow, whatever, which looks amazing for most of your shots. So like I said, this isn't going to work for every single type of shot, but it does help to bring back a little bit of that detail that you thought was completely lost in your shot. So honestly, I don't know if shooting in CinelikeD or a flat picture profile actually gives you more image data or captures that data, but it seems like from what I've experienced, shooting in that mode does allow for a little bit more detail than just the regular mode. So I love doing this. It saves so many shots that you think you've lost, and honestly just makes them look a lot better. I know this technique doesn't solve all your problems in every situation, but it is a really good tool to know if you need to fix some minor issue that can make a project either look fantastic or not that great. Anyway, that's it for today. If you like this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.